Hello and welcome to Mediumship Matters with me, Hannah McIntyre. How are you doing? And here we are at the end of season 5. Can you believe it? Obviously, in a couple of weeks' time, when I've done my live online demo, I will be adding the recording of that as a bonus episode. But this is it, guys. So get your questions in for season 6. I would love to interact with you all, hear what you've got to say. Send me in your questions, especially your development questions. I haven't had any sort of I'm getting stuck in my mediumship and this is what's happening questions for ages. So please do bring me some of those. Now we're going to start today. I've got 2 very different takes on my smoke and mirror episode, and it's fascinating to me. So first of all, I've got Miranda. And Miranda says, "Hi Hannah, it's me, Miranda again. I left you a voice memo. Obviously, we've all listened to that. Smoke and mirrors is blowing my mind. I actually saved the episode because when the cosmos align, this is exactly what I want to talk to you about. This is exactly why I have stepped away from professional mediumship. Thank you for bringing this up. It hits my soul. I also listened to Big Magic and it gave me so many meaningful messages. I love non-spiritual books with a powerful punch, and Gilbert checks all those boxes. I'm not sure if you've listened to Conversations with God by Neil Walsh, but it is a profound book. Neil wrote a trilogy and each book is extraordinary. However, book 3 answered so many of my questions. Book 3 talks about psychic, mediumship, reincarnation, suicide, what happens to the soul, and all of these messages are supposed to be from God. These 3 books have completely changed how I see God and myself. I highly recommend, especially the audio version." Anyway, I had to message you again. I hope we can chat soon. And she has given me a link to Conversations with God, which, funnily enough, I'm already listening to, Miranda. I'm only on book 1, but you've motivated me. I did notice on my Audible the other day that I've got 24 more hours of listening to Conversations with God. God sure has got a lot to say, but I am really, really loving it. So, yep, thank you for that recommendation. And thank you to everyone who sends me in these recommendations and things. I love it. I love learning, thinking, being challenged. Now, next up, I have an email from Susie. And Susie has got a different take on my episode. "Hi Hannah, I'm a new student in your spiritual school and I'm loving it. I just listened to season 5 episode 11 and at the end you say to give you some feedback on our thoughts. I would like to share with you my thoughts from my heart. First of all, I think you need to clarify your income source, primarily because you're asking people to think about letting go of making money from their passion, their artwork, their mediumship, and inferring that work should not be coming from this place. There is an entitlement that you are experiencing in your life that gives you the ability to have such standards for your work. Not everybody has this financial security and entitlement. I love that artists are getting paid for doing their amazing work. I love that. I personally have a thriving practice because I'm passionate about my work. I don't want to quit my passionate job to make money any other way. I don't want to work somewhere that does not fuel my heart and push me to pursue my passions, giving people the very best of me. You have a clear sense of financial security and entitlement that is allowing you not to stress and push for making ends meet. You have a clear sense of financial security, and I worry that your message is going to cause harm to somebody who absolutely needs to make money from their mediumship. I don't agree with you on this topic. I think you're struggling with something, some growth or mental construct that you are distancing yourself from or outgrown. I completely support that and grow myself from listening to your process. However, I do think you need to disclose your entitlement to be able to even entertain the ideas you are putting out there at large." A lot of entitlement in there. Now, it was interesting getting this email. And of course, this kind of email is going to trigger me. I'm not going to lie. And I always find it fascinating to hear how language falls differently on different people. So I listened back to that podcast to try and hear where you got me saying you shouldn't charge from. And I clearly say in that episode, I am comfortable with what I charge for readings, but I don't want to get greedy with it. And so I think that you have misheard me, in honesty, Susie. I don't think that is what I said. And if that is how it came across, then I deeply apologise. But I do want to be clear on a few things. I financially rely on my husband, and this has caused huge amounts of problems, because how do you explain to somebody who's very logical and is a financial advisor, so is very good with numbers and money, that they need to come and take time off work to look after the children so you can go and do your passion and your business that doesn't earn any money yet? And this has caused problems. So although I do have financial security because my husband pays the bills, that has its own set of problems. The other thing that I find interesting is I was not saying that you shouldn't charge. What I was saying is that you shouldn't demand that your art, your spiritual connection pays you a living. And this is a very different thing, because I do think that your best mediumship, your best self, comes from being in a play state with the spirit world. It certainly does for me. It comes from, let's experiment, let's see what we can do. And I know that spirit know that I need to make money from this business. This is the year, or I have said I'm going back to work. So spirit know that that's where I'm at, but I haven't told them how. And when you're looking at manifesting or trying to get an income or working with the universe, it's not the same to say I need an income versus I need an income from this. And that, I think, is an important distinction. If you are telling spirit that you need money to live, then you should be willing to get that from any source that is aligned with you. If you are telling spirit that you have to get money from this place, from that space, from this thing, whether it's your mediumship or whatever, then I think you're making a demand of the universe that might result in you being disappointed. And I say that from experience. I have spent many years demanding that it works for me financially. And as soon as I started moving into this space of I'm going to do what I love because I love it, the money has started to come in. That's what I was trying to get across, and I've obviously done it really badly, but that is what I meant. I meant that when you're demanding and pushing, that seems to create a chink in the process. I love that people earn from their art. I was not saying that you shouldn't, but I was also saying, does it not do something to your creativity when you are only creating because you want it to be an income? I don't want to only work with spirit when I'm going to see how much I'm going to earn from it. That's why I've been enjoying doing my free spirit circle, because I love just being in a space where we can just experiment. And I had one that was a disaster because no one could really hear me over the music, but never mind. It was free. I'm just playing. It still had value. So I think that is what I was pushing for in that. Not that you should never charge for readings or any form of work, but that you should charge. I absolutely believe that you should, but you also shouldn't demand that it covers all of your costs. It's a different thing. I think you should get paid fairly for your work with spirit, but do I believe that you should say to spirit, I'm going to do readings and that needs to cover my mortgage and my gas bill? I don't know. And that's something that only everybody can choose for themselves. And I do think there isn't one size fits all. Now, when I listened back to that podcast, I was quite pleased with myself, because all the way through, I was saying, this is my experience, this is what's happening for me. And never once did I tell anybody else what they had to do. I have just found what is in alignment with me. If you have got a fantastic business that is thriving and you're able to be passionate, Susie, then that is what's working for you. There isn't one size fits all. But I do keep coming back to one story that I have from when I used to teach a lot of Reiki. And one of the things that I always say to people when they do a Reiki course is, don't rush out and set yourself up as a healer instantly. Sit with Reiki. Let Reiki talk to you. Learn what kind of healer you are. Learn how the energy feels. Do your own healing. Work with yourself. And every time people don't listen, and on the Monday they invite me to like their new business that they've launched. That is the way of the world. It doesn't bother me. You can still run ahead and learn as you go. But one of the really interesting things was a student of mine who rented a room off a hairdresser's, I think. It was in the back of a hairdresser's. And she kitted all that room out. She bought a top-of-the-line Reiki bench. She bought all of these decorations. She bought all of this stuff. And she invested a lot of money into it, which her husband had lent her because she was like me. And what that did was that caused her husband to say, you're going to have to do a lot of clients to pay back this £1,000 that we've spent on doing up your room. Plus, she had the rent for the space. So she instantly launched her business into a space of duress. And what happened was, she was getting clients, and that was fine, and clients were coming. But one day, in the way that it works, that you know, Susie, I just had this kind of little ding-a-ding-a-ding, I need to check in with her, something's going on. So I dropped her a message and said, hey, how's all the healing work going? How's it, is it going well? And she said, funny you should message. She had a long-term illness, and she said, I'm having a flare-up, and I have been working all day today, and I've healed 6 clients, but the last 3 I've been in agonizing pain, and while I've been healing them, I've been crying. Tears have been running down my face because I'm in so much pain. And I said, what on earth are you doing trying to heal people when you're in that space? If you're connecting energetically and they're opening up to you, all you're doing is putting pain into them. And she said, but I've got to do these clients because I've got to pay my rent. And therein lies what I was trying, obviously badly, to say. That we get so tied up in our demands from our mediumship or our healing or our stuff like that, that sometimes we can cause real problems for ourselves, but also other people by behaving like that. And we all know, don't we, that if you want to go to a healer, you want them to be aligned. If you open a Reiki manual, it says, do not heal if you are stressed, if you are angry, if you're in disharmonious space. But how do you do that when you're relying on your Reiki to pay your gas bill? So actually, Susie, in that space, I do disagree with you. I think if you absolutely, completely need that money to live, you are better off getting a part-time job to cover your bills and doing your spirit work from a space of alignment. And I know that isn't the right thing for everybody, but that's honestly how I feel. That's how it feels to me. When I had my cooking business and I was also running my spiritual business, I didn't quit my cooking business and say, okay, then come on, actually, my big cooking business didn't work either. That's another story. I didn't expect my mediumship business to fill that gap. I just went into it in a space of, let's see what I can do whilst looking for a part-time job. And I know friends that are phenomenal mediums that I know, phenomenal, but to keep in alignment, They work in part-time jobs so that they are not demanding from their mediumship to work when they're out of alignment. And you can disagree with me on that, Susie. I'm very open to that. But I do think that you have to make sure you're in the right space. And I guess for a lot of people, if mediumship is your only source of income, that's got to be hard. It's got to be hard. Can I honestly, hand on heart, say that I would send a client that had a booking in with me away if I knew that I needed that money for my kids to eat? I can't say that I would. Do I think that I should have worked with the client? No, I do not. But it's easy to be theoretical about things when you're not in that position. And I think that's what you mean by me being entitled. But I have been in positions like that, Susie. I do know what it feels like. And I think it bears talking about. But what I really meant when I was saying about money and things like that is, I charge, when I do readings, I'm not doing it at the moment because I'm too busy, but when I do readings, I charge a fair amount of money. It's not a puny amount of money. And so, I think it's normally, depending on what's going on, it's normally about £150 for a reading. That is not a little bit of money. But even when I've been charging that, I've had people say, you're not charging enough, you have a money block, you need to charge more. And I actually think that that is a lot of money, and I'm not comfortable with charging more than that. So that's what I meant. There's a difference, isn't there, between charging well for your craft and knowing that you are attracting the right clients to you, because pricing's mixed up in that as well, isn't it? And getting what you're worth, but also, as I said, not holding people hostage with prices that are just completely out of reach. And even at £150, I know that prices me out of the market for a lot of people. So there is, I guess, no right or wrong in this. There's only what is right or wrong for you. And I have found in the last few months, letting go of all of that demand has created a space where I feel spirit more clearly, where I feel magic in my life more regularly, where I am just enjoying little signs, little bits of moments with spirit where I can have joy in it, because I'm not demanding from them and from my mediumship perhaps as much as I was. And in that, I've had the best month ever with my book sales. So, and if you listen to Abraham Hicks, there's an awful lot in there about, manifesting but letting it happen. And is letting it happen saying I need £1,000 a month to pay my bills, or is letting, sorry, let me put my teeth in. If you say to the universe, I need £1,000 a month to pay whatever I need to pay, that's one thing. But if you say I need £1,000 a month, but it must come from mediumship readings, that is still a control. And that's what I meant. I hope that clarifies. I hope that brings us more into alignment. I am incredibly lucky now that my husband's business does do well, but we have had incredibly dark and incredibly difficult times. And the joy of that is that I feel so incredibly lucky that I can go out for lunch every now and again. One of the big things for me this year has been that I've been able to afford to pay to go to the gym. That's been really exciting for me. And I know that is a lucky thing. Not everybody has that. I have not had that for years. It's really a wonderful thing. So please don't think that I'm entitled and judging, but I do think that the question needs to be asked, am I in aligned space to work? And that is a hard question to answer when, if you're not in an aligned space to work, there will not be food on the table. I wanted to end season 5 with a recording of my trance guide, Charles, talking to you all. Now, as you know, I've had a bit of a journey with trance recently and what we're capable of and what we're not. So what you're going to hear is a completely unedited recording of what Charles wanted to say to you all for the end of season 5.
Good day to you all. We are very excited to be speaking to you. We are excited that Hannah has invited us to come and share with you today. And we wanted to talk to you all about the difficulties so many of you face navigating this difficult, tumultuous existence. A place filled with so much disharmony and darkness. And trying to hold on to your light in this space. And trying to be the light for others in this space. And the first thing we wish to say to you is that it is good to want more for others. It is good to seek the betterment of your fellow man, but it is not your job, and it is not something that we in the spirit world require from you. All we need you to do is find your light and nurture your light. This is not about a grand illusion of a purpose to feed your ego and make you feel that you are doing the work you came here to do. For ironically, the work you came here to do was to find your light and nurture your light. And the best gift you can give the people in the world that you come into contact with is to let your light speak to theirs. This is not about action, restriction, rules or requirements. This is about you activating, inspiring, showing the light in the other people you come into contact with, what it looks like when you allow your light to grow and you don't limit it and you don't apologize for it and you find the things that make you happy, not the things you are told that will make you happy, for what would make one person happy would not necessarily do the same for another, but unashamedly embracing your own joy and what that looks like. And that does not necessarily mean working for spirit, but working for your own spirit. Setting down the pressures, the things you are telling yourself that you must do to pave a way for others, to be the bringer of the light, but just being the light, choosing yourself, picking the things that make you happy and inspired and motivated and joyful, and embracing them. There is an unavoidable amount of weight and heaviness and restriction in the human existence. That is part of the journey here and why you come here. We cannot take away all the limits, all of the chores, all of the people of the lower vibration. But what we can do is help to minimize the effect that those things have. You know, when you are having a bad day and you are stressed out, you have to cook dinner and you're tired, you want to focus on other things, but you need to provide food for the people in your home. It is your turn to cook, and you create a meal, and all the time you are preparing that food, you are thinking how much you wish you could be elsewhere doing something else, how this is just a pinnacle of a difficult day and another requirement on your time. But you can also recognize in the days when you have had a wonderful day, when you have given yourself some of what you need, and you have looked after and nurtured yourself, that preparing a meal does not feel like such a hardship. It does not feel so restrictive and heavy and weighed down, because you have looked after you. This is what we mean. So many of you are waiting for permission to do the things that you want to do, which you are being called to do, and then you are waiting and you are frustrated and you wish that we would give you a sign or tell you that it is time and you are allowed. But you have to tell that to yourself. That is not something we can do for you. You have to choose it for yourself. So whether that onward journey is about your own development and connection to the spirit world, or is about becoming an artist, writing a book, taking on that career challenge that you've always dreamt of, whatever it is that your soul is calling you to do, take this right now as permission, as us saying, absolutely, yes, okay. Your time here is so very, very short. If you want to make the most of it, that is entirely up to you. Thank you.
And there we go. The end of season 5. Thank you all for your support, your questions, your sharing so openly and honestly. And I cannot wait to see what season 6 brings. Don't let anybody dim your light. See you on the other side.